Okay, order of operations is something that that's talked about in lessons 11, 12, and 13. And it starts off real basic in lesson 11, but as the lessons go along, the operations, the problems get harder as you go through these lessons. So we're going to combine lessons 11, 12, and 13 and talk about order of operations. Now there's other topics in these lessons also, but the common topic is order of operations. Now let's take a look at a phrase that you've probably used before, and you've probably heard the phrase, "Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally," with the P standing for parentheses, the E standing for exponents, the M for multiplication, the D for division, A for addition, and the S for subtraction. And what this phrase is, and we just abbreviate it as PEMDAS, what this phrase is it tells us the order of operations. So for example, if you had 3 plus 2 times 7, we have to use the order of operations on this because there's different answers we could get if we don't use the order of operations. For example, if you added 3 plus 2 first, which is 5, and then take that times 7, you get 35. But that's a totally different answer than if you multiplied first. 2 times 7 is 14, and take 3 plus 14, and here you would get 17, and actually this would be the correct answer. So the reason for order of operations is so that we have a consistent way of getting a consistent answer. Now, one last thing I want to emphasize about PEMDAS is that when you have both multiplication and division going on, you just do those in the order that they arrive there. So if you had a problem like 3 times, let me change that. Say you had 3 divided by 3 times 4. Okay, the M coming before the D doesn't mean you necessarily do that first. You just do them in order. You do all the multiplication and division in order. So 3 divided by 3 is 1, and then I take the 1 times the 4, and the answer to this one is 4. So you do the multiplication and division in order. Same thing with addition and subtraction. Just because the A is first doesn't mean you do addition first. It's whatever comes first. So if you had 3 minus 2 plus 6, I just do those in order. 3 minus 2 is 1, and then 1 plus 6, I get 7. So again, I don't have to do the addition first just because it's the A is first before the S in the phrase PEMDAS. I'm going to use this in one of the problems. And what I have here is PEMDAS over PEMDAS. And what this is referring to is whenever you have a division bar. So for example, I think it's example 5 is where we have a division bar like that. And I like to remember PEMDAS as PEMDAS over PEMDAS when you have a division bar. So let's take a look at example 1. On each of these examples, I'm going to write the word PEMDAS as we go through each example. So I'm going to go through these fairly quick, so if you need to pause it, do that. All right, first thing I do is parentheses. Now, you know what? I don't have parentheses here. And when we say parentheses, we mean, is there any parentheses where there's work to be done inside the parentheses? Sure, I have parentheses, but the reason for the parentheses here is to show multiplication. So the reason for the parentheses is for multiplication. So really, technically, I don't have any parentheses. Now, do I have any exponents? No. So check, check. Do I have any multiplication? I do. So I need to do this, and then I need to do this. So 6 times 3 is 18 minus, now take 4 times 5 times 6. And just multiply them in order. If you can multiply, the order you multiply, it doesn't make a difference. So even if you want to take 4 times 6 and then take that times 5, you could. Let's see, I'm just going to go in order. 4 times 5 is 20, and 20 times 6 is 120, so minus 120, right? Let me check that. So 20 times 6, yep. All right, now take 18 minus 120. 18 degrees above 0 drops 120 degrees. Well, obviously your answer is going to be negative. You're going to take the difference between those two. So what do we have there? 102, I believe. So let's see, 120 minus 18. My mental math isn't the greatest today. Let me check that. 20, yeah, so negative 102 is right. Okay? And we're done. All right, example 2, again, use PEMDAS. So I'm just going to go right through the letters. Let's see, is there any parentheses where I have work to do in the parentheses? Answer is no. Do I have any exponents? No. Do I have any multiplication and division? Answer is yes. I have multiplication, I have multiplication. So I take 13 minus, notice where my minus sign comes from, 4 times a negative 5 is a negative 20, minus 3 times 10 is 30. Now, if you're trying to do this on your calculator, and all you're doing is punching it in all at once, big no-no. I would do it just like I'm doing here. I would write it out because you're going to make mistakes. So I would write the 13 down, minus, then you could take your calculator and take 4 times a negative 5 if you wanted to, minus, and then 3 times 10. You could do it that way. Now, let's simplify this. I'm just going to add and subtract in order now, because I've taken care of all the multiplication and division. So 13 minus minus 20 is plus 20, minus 30. Now add and subtract in order. 13 plus 20, I get 33, minus 30, and our answer is 3. Again, don't do it all on the calculator all at once. If you're using a calculator, write it out a little bit and have use your calculator for some of just the basic facts. All right.